Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Staci.
And I'm your co-host, Sarah.
And I do apologize to the listeners for not being here last week. I myself was not feeling well.
There was health and wellness issues with my host.
Yes.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you. So I am feeling better. Glad to be here because today's topic is back to school.
Oh,
which
I haven't done that in a long time.
See, when I was a kid, because I actually liked school.
I loved school.
Back to school was actually kind of exciting.
I always planned my first day outfit. It was very exciting.
I had to have the new backpack, had to have new pencils and pens for some reason. It's like, that pen works still fine. Nope, gotta have all new set and would set it out, look all pretty, and then pack it in my backpack just properly, just so. And actually managed to maintain that pretty well. My backpack generally stayed pretty organized. I was pretty good about that.
Nice.
I was an organized child. I'm sure my mother was proud. But so anyways, it is back to school time, and actually several of my coworkers, their kids have already started school.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which I hate.
Well, didn't we talk about this? I don't know if it was on air, but I used to live in Lodi, California, which is just south of us, and they have a modified traditional schedule, so they start the end of July,
gotcha.
Which just seems hot to me.
Right? Like, on the one hand, I'm just like, I get why the parents would be like, okay, we're done. Son. I am done with summer. But on the other hand, I'm like,
August.
It's hot. Like, if you're going to do that, just have school all year round, but, like, adjust things. So have PE be different during the summer than it is when it's not as hot. Like, what the heck?
Growing up, we always started after Labor Day.
See, that is a thing. That is, like, you know, the Loch Ness Monster or something, like a myth. Like, starting in September, starting school, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And yet, that's, you know, it used to be that way because that in popular culture always has September as the back to school month, even though it no longer is.
I never got that as a child. I was like, but it's August. So if September is, why do I have to start in August? It's like, couldn't we start when it's not that hot? Although by the time I graduated high school, that wasn't the case. It was hot. Just as hot in September often as it was in August, so that didn't really matter. But because it is back to school, parents, children maybe are excited, maybe not excited. I never quite got the kids who were like, oh, back to school. I was like, back to school!
Well, yeah, not everybody loves school like we did.
Yes, but parents can obviously be nervous about back to school because along with, back to school in fall, it's also fall and back to school and everyone gets sick. Don't we all? All the kids just get sick. That's what back to school means.
You've brought together all of your genes. Right. Not genes, all of your germs.
And maybe all of your genes. I don't know. So today we're going to talk about some tips to, sort of get you through the school year and things you might have to think about if you are a person who has school-age children.
Okay.
So the first thing is school nerves, which I never had, except for I think it was 3 times from one elementary school to the other elementary school. And then from elementary school to middle school. And then from middle school to high school, we're not in the same district at all. So I didn't know anybody starting those grades. And I was just like, great.
I've told you my situation, right? K through 12 in one building?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that goes either. no idea about that.
I always knew all my classmates except for the few new kids that would show up every year.
Yeah, no, it was very strange. So I kind of got nervous, but it was still at the same time, it's school and the teachers will be there, so I'll be pretty fine. But some kids can get really nervous about new situations, whether this is just a new classroom and teacher or a new school entirely. And so if your child does seem nervous, they suggest asking them what they're worried about and helping them to sort of problem solve ways to help with that. So it's like, what specifically are you scared about? And what are some ways, that you think you could help solve that problem?
Right. Makes sense.
It can also be helpful to rehearse the new situation by taking them to visit the new school or classroom before the first day of school.
A lot of schools do this. They have like back to school nights or meet the teacher nights. And so you can go and you see your classroom, you meet your teacher, you do all kinds of things. They never had that for me growing up, but maybe that's because you already knew who your teacher was because
for you especially.
But I know a lot of friends of mine have taken their kids to back to school night, and you go and meet your teacher, see your classroom. So I bet that can relieve a lot of stress.
See, and maybe although again I was in 4 different schools, but my schools never did that. Back to school night was after school had started, and that was for the parents to come in and see the teacher and see what the kid's going to be learning. But that would be several days or a week after. I'm like, to take me in advance to school is such a strange idea for me. I didn't even do that when I first started walking home from school.
Right.
My mother sort of planned it out. I think we rode the bike, not even the whole way there, but just to where it was okay, you get it where we are now, right? I was like, yeah, okay, fine. And then it was okay, call me when you get home. That was my mother's security check was,
nice.
You're supposed to call by a certain time. And if eventually my sister and I stopped doing that because TV. So she would call and be very upset with us because we hadn't called her.
Oh, yeah.
But we never did a whole practice run of school. So I think that's a great idea, but it certainly wasn't happening in my time so much.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great idea also, especially for children who may be a little nervous or kids. It was such a familiar school for me, and my dad was a teacher, and so it was just kind of like second home. But I know in other times in my life, there have been moments when I've had to do something that I've never done before, and so you have that I don't know where I'm going, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, so to have really good details can be very helpful for nerves.
Yes. They also suggest starting your child on a sleep-wake schedule about a week or so in advance. And I remember seeing this, I think, when I was in high school, and it was recommended for the high school students themselves to do, because by that point we were, in charge of our own sleep. Maybe possibly didn't have a bedtime. Most of us didn't. I think some kids maybe did. But it was just so you're not getting to school and you're so used to staying up late and waking up late. And then now it's school starts at 7:30 or whatever. What?
Right.
So you want me to be up on time?
I just went to bed a half an hour ago.
Right, exactly. It's but I didn't go the sun came up before I went to bed. Why should... Yeah.
Speaking of the sun, I used to hate this. Daylight savings time in the spring, but then also going to bed before school started. The sun was always still up because I lived so far north that in summer, even in the first part of September, the sun is still up at 8 o'clock when I had to go to bed as a child.
See, I had it, even though I'm from here, so not as far north. I hated daylight savings because I didn't understand it as a child. So it meant, even though when I was 8, I was going to bed still at 8. It felt like I was going to bed at 6. I was but the sun's up.
The sun is still up,
I shouldn't be in bed. But then also, I didn't understand that it also changed twice a year. So it used to be that the school I went to also had after school care. And so my sister and I would stay there until my mother would get off work and then come pick us up. And I timed that by the sun. My mother generally showed up around sundown. And so as the sun's getting lower and lower, my mom was showing up. I'm just did she forget us? Are we going to be stuck here? What happens if all the other kids leave and we're still here? I didn't know that the first time I really remember daylight savings. So it's just how late do I let it go before I start getting worried? But thankfully she did show up, and I learned to tell, so some things happen and the sun's different, but it's still okay.
Maybe I should learn to look at the clock.
I didn't actually know how to tell time at that point.
Well,
I did learn that in 3rd grade, but not till then. So that was before then. But yeah. But they also recommend, and this one I know I definitely struggled with, was the backpack.
Oh, they're so huge.
And, especially for me in high school, we had lockers, and then our lockers got taken away. Oh. But my 10th grade English book was this big 4-inch thick, and it was a square, so it wasn't even easy to carry. It was a really awkward size and heavy. And I used to leave it in my locker, and then the lockers got taken away, so I had to take it back and forth to school every day. I was so pissed at the people who got our lockers taken away because that was due to a school prank. I was like, I hate you.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so they recommend for children's backpacks to pack the heavier items closer to the center of the back. Mm-hmm. And this I heard many times and was never able to fully follow it because I always had like 4 books. Not even school books, just books I wanted to read in my bag. Your backpack should never weigh more than 10 to 20% of your weight. Right.
So, yeah, when I worked at a hiking camp 2 summers as a counselor, and it was a little more. It was like never more than 30% of your body weight for hiking, but that makes sense, 10 to 20 of your child's body weight. Otherwise, it's just, we're going to have kids with but they're all going to walk like hunchbacks.
Yes, and they also suggest you encourage your children to use both straps and not just one, because that'll mess up their posture.
Don't care if it's not cool. Right. Put your backpack on both of your shoulders.
It'll be so not cool when you're a hunchback at like 40.
Yeah.
But also, and this I find weird, is adjust the pack so that the bottom sits at your child's waist. And maybe children's backpacks are slightly different sized. My backpack bottom always sat like right above my butt.
Right.
I don't quite know how that could sit at my waist. I was like, that would be a short, small backpack or something. I've never had a backpack that does that.
Yeah. And, you know, as an adult in grad school, I was probably, I don't know if it made me a dork or just made me logical, but I had my REI backpack that I took to school with me. And when I walked, I used the waist belt and the front snap. You know, I went all out because I was like, this thing is heavy.
Wow. I know that. Yeah. Both dork and practical. I think you just, you know.
I think I summed it up, points. Yeah. Yep.
But they also recommend, because even though, you know, a lot of students starting in August, it's still really hot, sports do start for fall almost immediately. So they recommend, if your child's going to be doing any sort of team sport, to make sure they have a complete sports physical, which is different than a regular just doctor's visit or doctor's physical.
A lot of schools, at least when I was in high school, we had to have before we could start a sport, but I don't know that you have to do that for elementary school.
I did too, but if whether or not your school recommends it, if your child's going to be playing a sport, to have that done beforehand.
Do it anyway. Yes. Back to the backpacks. Can we not make them smaller for like kindergartners? Kindergartners, they look adorable, but those backpacks are like almost as tall as they are.
It's so cute. My mother actually tells a story, and it makes me feel so guilty, of my sister's first day at school. She's a year and a half younger than me, so she was only a year behind me in school because of when our birthdays are. And my mother always tells the story of this little kid with her backpack bigger than her, you know, trailing after her sister, Stacy, wait for me. And I just wouldn't.
Oh, I'm a first grader. I'm not going to hang out with you baby kindergartners.
Right. I felt so bad. I was not the nicest big sister. But my mother telling that story, I've seen the pictures of my sister when she was that age. I was like, oh, but she was so adorable. Why wasn't I nicer? I feel bad.
You need a TARDIS to go back and fix that.
I really do. Smack my childhood self. Be like, be nice to your sister. You will regret this when you're older. She won't want anything to do with you. Be nice. Be a nice big sister.
Oh, wow.
Not physically smacked.
Yeah, okay, because then future Stacy's going to get arrested, and past Stacy's, it's just going to be a mess.
Metaphorically smack some sense into that sort of turn of phrase.
Okay.
Yes. So we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, where today we are talking about back to school. And I remember one of the things for me, certainly in my early childhood school years, was immunizations and making sure you had all your shots before school started, because that was like a requirement. And it felt at least like almost up till middle school that every year it was certain number of shots. It's like, I have to have shots every year. I was like, but why? Although normally I got them done, spaced throughout the year, so it wasn't like a rush of shots at the end of summer, thank goodness. But I just remember like mine was yellow, the little yellow shot record.
Oh, mine was
my mother
blue.
Had to bring.
I still have it, actually.
I do too.
It's in my purse.
It's so strange. It's cute, and it's on paper, which you don't really have now anymore. Although I do think you still have to bring proof, like physical proof.
I would think so.
Of your shots to school. But at least I know a number of states do this. I'm not sure. I think maybe all states have some vaccinations, but not necessarily all the same vaccinations before school, and not all the same at different ages and different grade levels. In California, schools are required to check immunization records for all new students from kindergarten or pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. And that's like if you change schools, I think. So there's a certain number of shots you're actually supposed to have before kindergarten, but then they have to check it if you're like transferring from out of state or to a different school or whatever.
Right.
To make sure, you actually had it. So you'll see if you go onto like the official things, there'll be like if entering ages 4 through 6 and then ages 7 through 12 or something, the shots you have to have. And there's a lot of repeats, but that's because you should have checked those already. And if you don't, you have to go get it now.
Right.
So for students entering kindergarten, they're required to have the, and lots of wonderful disease names here. So the
diphtheria.
Too many? Yeah. Diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, or the DTaP, DTP, or DT shot. The polio vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella MMR. Although I think if you're doing it a little older, you don't necessarily have to have the mumps part of that, but you do still have to have measles and rubella. And then varicella, which is chickenpox. Which is interesting.
That was not an option when I was a kid.
Well, I remember...
Neither was hepatitis B. That came later. I got hepatitis B shots, but I think I was in college at that point.
I think I remember everyone was required either to have the chickenpox vaccine or have had chickenpox. Because then you just...
Right.
You had it yourself, you're good.
Although I've had it twice.
Chickenpox?
Yep.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, it happens. I had chickenpox as a baby, but I only got like 5. My mom said when my siblings had it, and then when I was 19, I got it from the kids. I got it from the kids that I nannied for, and then a week later, I got shingles. It was a good time.
So much fun. That is the one thing that really upsets me. I did actually have chickenpox, not the vaccine, but if you've had actual chickenpox, you now carry the shingles virus.
Oh yeah, yep.
Seriously.
Yep. Here's a bonus prize.
Right. But then on top of those, which you're supposed to have before kindergarten, when you go into enter 7th grade, you're also required to have the tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis shot, which is actually Tdap. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between DTaP and Tdap, but
except order that they're listed in. Yeah,
like is one's more paying attention to this one than that one, so there's a difference.
Yeah, different. What's the word I'm looking for? Ratio,
maybe,
of the ingredients.
Possibly.
I don't know.
But doctors do also warn that some vaccines that you have as when you're young can wear off over time and may no longer be protection, so you might have to get some things again.
Right.
Though none of those seem to be required, so long as you've at least had them at some point. You don't have to do like DTaP every year if you had it before kindergarten or whatever. But then they do also recommend some of the more not required, but I want to say regular, just for like the flu shot. Mm-hmm. So it is recommended that you and your child, pretty much everyone, get a flu shot every year. Partly
which has changed in the last, I don't know how long, because it was not recommended when I was younger. It was,
really?
You should get the flu, because if everyone gets the flu shot, I don't remember what the reasoning was, but not everyone should, only the people who are at risk should get the flu shot.
Interesting. I know they emphasize it for people at risk, so like young children and elderly.
Right, and people with asthma or respiratory, yeah.
Yeah, and every flu season you see like the statistics of how useful it is or how not useful it is, the percentage that it's actually working for, and I'm like, so what's the point? But I did when I was in college just get it because I'm like, well, I'm going to be around a lot of people and they're probably not going to stay home if they're sick. So might as well at least have that protection because it's free. It was free for me, at least as a student. But they also recommend the flu shot because even though you're kind of recommended to just go through a cold, that getting a cold can actually help build up a child's immunity. Mm-hmm. having the flu can actually cause serious illnesses.
Right.
Because you're not building up your immunity at that point. You're really sort of tearing it down.
Yeah.
They do also recommend meningitis, which is not required, I don't believe. But they recommend that preteens should get their first meningococcal...
that's a hard one. You almost got it.
That shot at age 11 or 12, but older teens will then need a booster shot at age 16.
Didn't get any of those.
You didn't get the meningitis shot?
Did I? I'd have to look at my little shot record.
Did you get the mono shot?
No.
Wow. Because I remember mono was a thing we talked about in high school, and I think I did get a mono shot, maybe.
I don't think I did. Maybe the meningitis one, but not the mono one.
But then and this is for California, I'm not sure if this relates for other states. In 2011, a law was passed which allows minors who are 12 years and older to consent to vaccines for sexually transmitted diseases without the knowledge or consent of their parents, including the HPV vaccine.
Oh, I bet that makes a lot of people cranky.
Well, and I remember this HPV came up, the vaccine, when I was in high school, and there was this big whole hullabaloo about it.
Right.
And I don't know if my mother just didn't hear about this hullabaloo or was like, well, the doctor says it's pretty good, so let's just go with it. I did have to go through and do the HPV, which is, multiple shots, as most of these vaccines are. But I was kind of annoyed because I was like, I thought I was done with the shots. That was a young kid thing.
You're never done.
What is this? But yeah, I remember HPV was a big hullabaloo, and I thought at the time it was required, and maybe either it wasn't or it had such an uproar that they changed it from being required to, okay, we recommend it, and if you're age 12 or older, you can decide to do it even if your parents don't want you to. Because it is dealing with sexually transmitted diseases, and for women, I think at least, it also can help prevent cervical cancer. So I was like, yeah, please. Anything with the, no cancer later, which is why I'm still pissed about chickenpox. Just anything with the no health problems later, yes, please, I want. But it wasn't even up to me. My mother made that decision, and I'm fine, I think. But you do now see those commercials with, the going back in time person of maybe my mom and dad.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, oh, there's a thing for that because there's a question about that. I didn't know it at the time. I was just like, that's a strange commercial. Doesn't everyone need to get that? Evidently not. No. But along with vaccines, people are often afraid of just sickness, period, because back to school means we're all back to being very close quarters, touching people, and children are not
drinking from the same water fountain.
Yes. I remember when I was a kid, there was a lot of don't share your chapstick.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't even remember if it was supposed to be cold sores or what that I wasn't supposed to, but it was like, don't share your chapstick or your comb or your hat or whatever.
Yep.
For all those various reasons. So some of the most common childhood illnesses are viral upper respiratory infection, gastroenteritis, strep throat, and the influenza virus, which is why they recommend children always get a flu shot.
Right.
You're reminded to remind your children to always cough or sneeze into the crooks of their elbows or into their sleeves. And I find that tip so interesting because I had never heard that until the whole swine flu outbreak.
Oh, I don't know when I heard it. I mean, I was an adult before I realized, and then I thought, that makes sense.
Right? It makes perfect sense because you don't want to sneeze in your hand and then you're touching things.
Right.
But because I was in college at the time and all the college students were like, I don't care if I'm sick, I have to go to class, or otherwise, if you have a professor that takes attendance and all that, it's like, we were not the best at staying out of, public places when we were sick. So there was so much of sneeze into your elbow, don't do it into your hands sort of thing. Swine flu was crazy at that time. But they do also recommend hand washing.
Of course.
Hand washing is very important to stop the spread of infection. And I love this tip because it's so simple, and yet I'd never heard of it.
Really?
Is that the hands should be scrubbed for 10 to 15 seconds, which is about long enough to sing the ABC song.
Yep, or Twinkle Twinkle.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had seen when I was a kid, there was a timed toothbrush that turned on for 3 minutes to make sure your children were brushing their teeth long enough. But no, I never heard the thing about hand washing.
When I worked with a preschool, they had, it was still, the ABC song or Twinkle Twinkle, that tune, but they sang it to, wash your hands. And there was other things in there. I don't remember the words, but same amount of time, but still to encourage the length to wash your hands.
That's actually, I think, brilliant. to teach young children that. Why was I not taught that?
I just remember as in elementary school, there were all these signs around during one year that said, stop, halt, wash your hands, stop the spread of hepatitis B or C or whichever one. I don't even, they're huge signs. Stop, halt, wash your hands.
Wow.
Okay.
Right? I'll do it. Please don't get mad at me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, I think, that studies have shown that antibacterial soaps are no better at washing away dirt than regular soap and water. Mm-hmm. And they can actually lead to the emergence of bacterial resistance. And that one I have heard of because we have a lot of antibacterial stuff.
Everything.
And we're putting it in so many things. Because, again, parents are, somewhat rightly worried about their kid getting sick, so let's kill all the germs, period. But that's building super germs.
Yeah, and your kids actually do need a bit of natural immunity.
Yeah.
Let them eat dirt.
Yes. And they actually say that most viral illnesses usually get better without treatment or medicine. And I know one of the big things is people will use antibiotics for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between viruses and...
bacterial and...
Right. But... like one of them is the flu and one of them is something, I think pneumonia or something, that two very similar things. And I'm like, you know what? I don't actually know the difference either. I just do what my doctor tells me to do. If I feel sick enough to go to the doctor, if they don't give me antibiotics, I assume I don't need them. I'm not going to, be like, give me antibiotics, dang it. Be like, I'm going to just go home and be miserable under the covers.
Right. I mean, I never
wake up, I feel better.
I never liked that answer when they're like, well, there's nothing, it's viral, so I can't give you antibiotics. Oh, but please.
Right? It's like, but that's not going to do anything.
I understand what you're saying, but I feel crappy.
And it just builds up the super bug, so you really can't fight it next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they basically just recommend rest and drinking plenty of fluids to help your child get over a viral illness. There's not much more you can do. Antibiotics are not going to help that. I know your child feels miserable, and you feel miserable as their parent, but to avoid worse problems later, please don't use antibiotics when you don't need them. But also, if you do need them, use them all the way through.
Yeah, don't stop just because you feel better.
Like, that drives me absolutely crazy. It's like, oh, I feel better now, so super bugs. Have you never heard of super bugs? Like, this is a post-apocalyptic film just waiting to happen, and people do this all the time for some reason. I do not know why. So yes, only use antibiotics when you need to and use them properly. We're going to take another short break. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. Another popular problem, fear, what have you,
prevalent,
that comes up a lot for back to school is lice. Because again, your child is now going to be around a whole bunch of children.
My niece's school had lice just constantly last year. It was just over and over.
See, and I never had lice as a child.
Me either.
We did have like lice screenings where we all stood in line.
Yep.
And someone would comb through our hair.
Yep.
And I guess if we had lice, send a note home with our parent or something. I had never had lice, so I never knew what was the result if you were found to have lice. It was just like, okay, and now I can go play or go back to class or wherever it was I was going after standing in the line.
Right.
It was just like, okay, so I didn't really know what even the treatments were for lice as a kid because it was not a problem, thankfully, my family had. But it has been shown that there can be both regular lice and super lice. Because again,
Superbugs.
all the super bugs. So super lice is not, I don't know that we're building up like a possible post-apocalyptic lice movie of super lice, but resistance to treatments like pyrethroids can vary geographically. So some places will have super lice and others won't. And it's due to a mutation in the genetic makeup. So mutations, again, are somewhat kind of random and only stick around if they're helpful in Darwin and that whole thing. But it is still recommended, even though some lice are now resistant to these treatments, to use those treatments as like the first line of, that's not even defense at that point, it's offense, reparation, isn't it? I don't know what you would call that. But it's only if the regular over-the-counter treatments don't work after 2 applications done properly should you go to second-line treatments that require a prescription. But if there is a known outbreak of super lice, like if this is something that, you know, shows up on the news of, oh, hey, in our local area tonight, 20 kids have come down with super lice, then they recommend actually going and talking to your pediatrician about what you should do first. To not even be like, oh, well, I'll give the regular ones a try. Like if you have just regular lice, give it a try and then go to the prescription if it doesn't work. But if it's known already, yeah, we're already at super lice, that's like not even code green, we're at like code red,
DEFCON, whatever. Yeah,
right, exactly.
I've also heard that tea tree oil can help prevent getting lice in some way, and I don't know if that's 100% true, but I don't think it's one of those things that will hurt if you wash your kid's hair with tea tree oil.
Unless your child's allergic to it, the way Sarah's allergic to lavender. All those things that help, and then you're allergic to, it's like, gee, thanks.
Yeah, not helpful.
But I think it is interesting that it's only the items that have been in contact with the head of the person with the infestation in the last 24 to 48 hours should be considered for cleaning. So you don't actually need to be like, oh, my child has lice, we need to put the tent over the house and quickly fumigate. It's found that most lice do not survive off the scalp further than about 48 hours. That's very unlikely. You should wash, soak, or dry items at temperatures greater than 130 degrees Fahrenheit to kill stray lice. And sort of fabric-y things like furniture, carpeting, and car seats can be vacuumed.
I've also heard that for things that you can't wash or, you know, put in the washing machine at high temperatures, if you put them in a garbage bag and seal the garbage bag for, I don't even know how long it is. It might be a really long time, but then that'll kill the lice as well. Right,
and especially if it's back to school right now in August. Put it in the garbage bag and stick it outside. Like, you'll probably get up to 130 degrees just doing that.
Might also mildew because of condensation.
Then let it air out and hope that, no lice after 48 hours, most likely. But I think it's also interesting that if your child has lice, they might not actually be required to be kept out of school. And that's because, you know, by the time we know they have lice, they've probably been affected for about a month or so.
Yeah, because of the eggs. Ugh.
So they're not really, you know, it's not as much of a risk. It's like, you're already there and you've got lice going on you. So you're not going to, you know, do anything at school, but you do still want to not have direct head contact. Right. Because that is how lice spreads, is through direct head contact with people who have lice, or through something that's doing direct head contact like hats, which is why we were always told, you know, don't share your hats.
Yep. Yes. I'm starting to get itchy. This conversation is starting to make me itchy.
So let's move on to something slightly less itchy. We mentioned at the very beginning, some children can have nervousness about going to school. And that usually sort of goes away once they adjust to the new situation and figure out, you know, no, it's not as terrifying as I thought it was. And not everybody hates me and my teachers are fine and not monsters or anything.
Right.
But if your child experiences persistent challenges, such as aggressive behaviors, notable changes in sleep patterns, changes in appetite, feeling more isolated, or any other sort of personality changes, they suggest that you do actually seek out a mental health professional. And for younger children, this can show up as gastrointestinal issues.
Yes.
Which I think is really problematic because that can show up in younger children anyway. So it's like, how do I know? I guess it's if it's more persistent.
More persistent or,
Yeah. But they also recommend to, even though you're now on this busy schedule, and certainly my sister and I did this when we were younger, as we were in soccer and softball. And during the summer, we had swimming lessons, and we also had karate, and my poor mother was running us around by herself. They do recommend that making sure there is downtime every day. Because this is very important for your child's mental health and well-being.
Yes.
And so that every day there should be time that's unscheduled that your child can use in whatever way they want. And this actually reminds me of an old Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode.
Okay.
Where he was supposed to take Ashley to some appointment or practice she had. And they got confused over whether it was like ballet or violin. And so he's looking at her schedule and she's got something scheduled like every day, all the time. And he's like, don't you just want to relax and have fun? Yes. By all means do that. It's not just the like, oh, I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore and I hate practicing scales. But this is actually important for you and your child's mental health. So downtime's important for them. Downtime's important for you.
Yep.
We hope you all have a very healthy year and avoid as much as you can any of the health problems that just tend to come like 2-for-1 with going back to school, unfortunately. All children in the same place. That's how it goes.
Germ factory.
So wishing you all a very healthy school year. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.